On June 23, 2020, Ahmad Erekat, a 26-year-old Palestinian, was shot by Israeli occupation forces after his car crashed into a booth at the container checkpoint in the occupied West Bank. According to his family, he was driving to run errands for his sister's wedding taking place on the same day. Located on a central Palestinian road, the checkpoint separates the cities of Bethlehem and Ramallah. It is one of the 149 illegal military checkpoints that restricts Palestinian movement to serve Israel's neo-colonial regime. Working in collaboration with the Palestinian human rights group Al-Haq, Forensic Architecture's Palestine unit was asked by Ahmad's family to examine evidence of the killing and establish the timeline of the incident. Ahmad's killing took place at a time of global Black-led protests against racist police brutality. It illustrates both the entangled struggles of Palestinian and Black liberation, as well as the disposability of Black and indigenous bodies in hyper-militarized settler colonies. We analyze the available images, videos, and testimonies, and built a 3D model of the checkpoint. However, fearing retribution from the Israeli authorities, many eyewitnesses were intimidated from speaking with us. We sought to establish the circumstances of the crash of Ahmad's car, the use of lethal force, the denial of medical aid that followed, and the degrading treatment of Ahmad's body. A day after the killing, the Army released a phone video of security camera footage of the incident. It shows Ahmad's car veering into a booth and hitting a soldier who immediately gets up on her feet. The military claimed that it was an intentional attack, but produced no evidence that it was not an error or malfunction. From the perspective of this video, the car appears to speed into the booth. However, our model allows us to analyze other perspectives that cast doubt on the military's claims. It also allows us to precisely reconstruct the path of the car, its speed and acceleration. The vehicle veers to the left. Just before impact with the curb, it shifts its course. The car's speed did not exceed 15 kilometers per hour. Its acceleration was constant and low throughout, implying that there was no sudden attempt to speed up. We measured the slope to be 3 degrees, which is sharp enough to contribute to the speed of the car. We sent our analysis to forensic collision expert Dr. Jeremy J. Bauer, who confirmed that the acceleration of the vehicle was only 4.4% of its reported capacity after turning toward the booth. Thus, the driver did not rapidly accelerate into the checkpoint. Had the driver truly wanted to maximize the chance that he would surprise the guards and strike them with his vehicle, he could have accelerated to the maximum capacity of the vehicle. The video also reveals other details that cast doubt on the Army's narrative. Shortly before impact with the booth, the distance between the back wheel and the body of the car expands, which, according to Dr. Bauer, could possibly indicate that the car was slowing. Before impact with the soldier, we also notice that the front wheel appears still for several moments. While inconclusive, given the quality of the video, it raises the possibility that shortly before impact, Ahmad may have been braking. Together, the car's constant acceleration at a fraction of its ability, the low speed of impact despite the sharp slope, the correction of the car's path after initially veering to the left, and the possibility that Ahmad braked before impact all raise enough doubts that this was an intentional attack. However, the Army has not opened a formal investigation into the crash. It has not released the rest of the security footage, nor has it examined the car's black box, which could help answer these questions. The Army claimed Ahmad got out of the car and approached officers who responded by shooting. With this claim of self-defense, the Israeli army, whose officers were armed and in protective gear, sought to justify its extrajudicial execution of Ahmad. We conducted a frame-by-frame analysis of the security camera footage. We stabilized the camera and increased the contrast of the footage to enhance clarity and examined Ahmad's movements and positions. After the impact, Ahmad leaves the vehicle unarmed and moves away from the soldiers. Here we see Ahmad raising his hands in the air. Ahmad is first shot when standing around 4 meters away from the nearest soldier. He then continues to move backwards as he falls to the ground. An Israeli border police officer claimed that Ahmad left the car and began running toward the soldiers. Our analysis contradicts this claim, showing that Ahmad did not pose any immediate threat. According to the Israeli Army's open fire regulations, live fire may only be used in a last resort if there is life-threatening danger. Our analysis shows that this was not the case. The first shot is fired 1 second after Ahmad exits the car by this soldier standing behind the booth. Smoke from each shot becomes visible when we make the footage black and white. The bullet appears to hit Ahmad in the abdomen or chest area. The second shot is fired 0.4 of a second later by the same soldier when Ahmad is in this position. The third shot is fired 0.3 of a second later. Its smoke appears here and aligns with the rifle of the soldier in the front, as do the 4th, 5th, and 6th shots that followed in fast succession. It took Israeli soldiers 2 seconds to fire 6 shots at Ahmad. We examined the position of Ahmad's body when each shot was fired. When the first 2 shots are fired, Ahmad is raising his arms and moving backwards. The third shot is fired as he is falling. The last 3 shots were fired when Ahmad was already on the ground. We collected dozens of online photographs and videos taken in the next few hours after the shooting. Using our 3D model, we were able to synchronize and geolocate this footage. Most of the footage did not have a timestamp, but by simulating the sun paths and shadows of that day, we can determine when they were taken within a 5-minute margin. This allowed us to compose a timeline of events that followed Ahmad's shooting. We believe that Ahmad was shot shortly before 3:53 p.m. An Israeli military spokesperson stated that Ahmad was provided with medical care within minutes. But the army has not released evidence of this, despite having over a dozen security cameras at the checkpoint. This video, taken at 3:53 p.m. by a witness, moments after Ahmad was shot, shows him moving, presumably alive. A soldier walks by, giving a thumbs up. His proximity to Ahmad demonstrates that he considers the scene safe, though he does not check Ahmad's pulse nor offer first aid. Another video captures the same moments. More soldiers move around Ahmad, while the surrounding Palestinian vehicles are instructed to evacuate the scene. An Israeli ambulance, seen here, arrived before those vehicles left the scene, indicated it was soon after Ahmad was filmed alive. We estimate the arrival of the ambulance to be between 3:57 p.m. and 4:03 p.m., 4 to 10 minutes after the shooting. At 4:15 p.m., around 20 minutes after the shooting, a Palestinian ambulance arrived but was denied access by the Israeli army. According to the testimony of the ambulance driver, a soldier at the outer gate told us to stop. We stayed there for about 10 minutes. Soldiers then told us to get out of the area and that the military jeeps behind us needed to pass. From our far viewpoint and from conversations with witnesses and the team, we understood that no kind of medical care was provided to him. The Israeli ambulance remained at the checkpoint for about 30 minutes until approximately 4:30 p.m. when it left, taking with it only the wounded Israeli soldier. This photograph, taken 8 minutes after the Israeli ambulance left, shows that Ahmad's body is still in the same position we saw him in when he was seen alive 45 minutes prior. Ahmad's body would have moved if he had received any medical attention. It is therefore extremely unlikely that Ahmad was provided medical care that could have saved his life in those moments. The practice of denying medical care is an act of killing by time. We also examined the treatment of Ahmad's body by the Israeli occupation forces. Ahmad's body was left uncovered for 10 minutes after the Israeli ambulance left the scene. At 4:41 p.m., roughly 45 minutes after the shooting, we first see Ahmad's body being covered with a silver tarp. Around 25 minutes later, Ahmad's body is covered with another black sheet by the Israeli bomb disposal unit. At 5:23 p.m., other personnel place markers and take photos of his body. Around 5 minutes later, the black cover is removed, and we see Ahmad's body with his shirt taken off. He is flipped on his back moments after. By about 5:30 p.m., over an hour and a half after the shooting, Ahmad appears to lay completely naked on the ground, surrounded by around 20 Israeli police and military personnel, including 2 military jeeps and police vehicles. Out of respect for the family, we are not showing footage of Ahmad undressed. We have not come across another case where a slain Palestinian was fully undressed on site by the Israeli army. Within this hyper-militarized space, Israeli soldiers are seen smoking just meters away from his body. By around 5:50 p.m., Ahmad is finally taken by an Israeli ambulance. Continuing their degrading treatment, the occupation forces have confiscated Ahmad's body and refused to return him to his family for proper burial. The Israeli authorities have also not released an autopsy detailing Ahmad's wounds and time of death. Ahmad is not alone. He is one of 70 Palestinians whose bodies have been confiscated from their families, a practice of collective punishment, placing this killing alongside other extrajudicial executions by the Israeli occupation forces. Another pattern appears, one in which Palestinians are denied medical attention after being shot with lethal force. Ahmad's family continues to struggle for the return of his body.